In today's podcast, we speak about blood sports in reply to a voice message from a listener. You'll learn vocabulary connected to bullfighting, fox hunting, cockfighting, dogfighting, and badger baiting, and we'll give you our personal opinion on these controversial blood sports. Welcome to
this bloody episode of Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig.
Hi, I'm Reza.
And my name's Craig.
And with nearly 60 years of teaching between us, we're going to help you improve your English and take it to the next level. So, my friend, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Excited to be back podcasting with you again. And before we get going, some good news, Reza. The problem we had with the website, inglespodcast.com, has now been solved. It seems to be working very well. So many thanks to my friend Ruben for his help getting us through that, what was pretty much internet hell. But the website now seems to be working perfectly. So there you go. We've also received an email from friend of the show, Alberto, from Australia, the other side of the world, down under. What does Alberto write?
I'll read his words. Several months ago, I came up with an idea for your podcast. It could be expanded into different topics across several episodes. The idea is simple: British culture. You could talk about the evolution of music, different political movements and how they affected society, history, cuisine, and even why politeness plays such an important role in British English, especially compared to Spanish or Australian culture. As you know, in Spain, we tend to take it for granted. And in Australia, things are so laid back that you really have to be quite rude to offend someone.
Yeah, thank you very much for sending us the email, Alberto. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. And we thought about this idea, Reza, but then we kind of thought about it more and decided that we've really spoken about many of the topics that you mentioned. First of all, music. We spoke a little about politics, British politics, history, cuisine. We've spoken a lot about food and drink in the UK, and even topics that Alberto hasn't mentioned. We tend to speak about the British cultural aspect of many things. So I don't know what you're thinking, Reza, if you've had a change of opinion, or people listening, if they think that Alberto has a point here and we don't speak enough about British culture, let us know. But what do you think, Reza?
Yes, Alberto, very good ideas. But as Craig has just explained, I think we kind of have covered them in certain episodes. And also we generally kind of mention them a lot of the time. So I'm not sure about any more specific episode. What about possibly, Craig, comparing British and Australian social norms or something like that?
Yes, as Alberto says, they tend to be very down to earth, the Australians, very direct. And it will be interesting to compare maybe British politeness and expressions with Australian directness and also sense of humour. So leave it with us. We'll give it some more thought, Alberto. And if anyone listening has any thoughts or views on this, then please either send us an email or send us a voice message, and we'll give you details about how to do that at the end of the podcast.
Craig, we also have another message from a listener. This time it's a voice message from Antonio from Sevilla.
Hello, Reza and Craig. This is Antonio from Sevilla. This is the first time I'm contacting you. I have been listening to your podcast for many years, since 2016 or probably earlier. I consider myself a big alcoholic. Anyway, the reason for my message is to suggest a topic that I think to remember you haven't talked about yet. It's about bullfighting. It's a controversial topic, I know, so I think it will give you a lot of good stuff for conversation. I have a British friend, originally from Iran, who came many years ago to Seville to work. At first, he considered himself totally against bullfighting. But he is a very open-minded person, so it didn't seem right to him to have such a strong opinion about something he really knew nothing about. Then, one afternoon, he decided to go to the bull ring, La Maestranza, to see the bullfight. And something really interesting and unusual happened to him that afternoon. What he saw made him to fall deeply in love with bullfighting, up to the point that nowadays he has made a good friendship relation with some bullfighters, and he is also recognized in the local community and the bullfighting world for his deep knowledge and understanding. He even wrote a book titled Making Sense of Bullfighting in English to help foreigners to understand this important part of the Spanish culture. Well, here's my suggestion. I want to thank you for your impressive work. Please keep doing it. Your legacy is being unique and wonderful. It's something that will transcend in time. I have no words. Just thank you for this gift to humanity, my friends.
Thank you very, very much for your kind words, Antonio Reza. Did you realize that you were a gift to humanity?
Wow, a gift to humanity. Wow. Antonio, thanks for your flattery. Flattery is when you use very, very kind words with someone. Wow, that's made me feel great. You're so appreciated. Thanks. We need more messages like this, don't we, Craig?
We do. You look very humbled. Your face has gone as red as a beetroot. It's the same color as your red t-shirt. That was lovely. So yes, thank you, Antonio, for your idea, and always a pleasure to get first-time messages from people who have been listening for a while. Antonio calls himself an AIRCaholic. So for new listeners, that's not alcoholic. That's nothing to do with alcohol. AIRCaholic is AIRC, which stands for Aprender Inglés with Reza and Craig. And people who follow the show and are fans of the show, we call them AIRCaholics. So thanks very much, Antonio. We have expanded your idea to include other blood sports, but we will start by talking about bullfighting. But before that, do you have any comments on Antonio's message, Reza?
Yes, just before we talk about the topic, can I say your message was very good and very clear?
Lovely pronunciation.
Very good pronunciation, yes. You opened up with a sentence that a native speaker probably would have said a different way. I think you said, "This is the first time I'm contacting you," or something like that. I'm contacting present continuous. We don't do that in English. It's quite surprising what we do in English. When you say, "This is the first time," in English, it's usually followed by a present perfect, which is strange because it's something that hasn't happened yet. But we say, "This is the first time I have contacted you." Or imagine you're about to jump out of a plane with a parachute. Before you do it, you say, "This is the first time I've jumped out of a plane with a parachute." Present perfect. It's the first time I've jumped, even though you haven't actually done it yet. So strange though it seems to Spanish speakers, when you say this is the first time, you follow with a present perfect. This is the first time I've done this. This is the first time I've eaten this. This is the first time I've seen a bullfight, for example.
Speaking of present perfect, I loved Antonio's sentence when he said, "I have been listening to your podcast." Not only did he have that present perfect continuous absolutely correct, but he remembered the preposition after listening to the podcast. So excellent. One little thing I noticed, Antonio, you said what he saw, this is your friend, what he saw made him to fall deeply in love with bullfighting. With make, when you make someone, you don't use the infinitive with to, you use the base form of the verb without to. So it should be what he saw made him fall deeply in love with bullfighting. You make someone do something, not make someone to do something.
Craig, I never told you this, but since it's come up as a result of this podcast, a few years ago, someone asked me, a friend of a friend, if I would translate a small book that person, the friend of the friend, that person's father had written. And this person who wrote the book died, I think, in the 1950s. And it was a book about bullfighting.
Really?
Yes, and they wanted me to translate it into English because it meant a lot to them to have it in English, and they thought that they could perhaps get English speakers to read it. In the end, I'm not sure if that happened, if it got published or anything, but it was interesting translating it. It's not easy to translate into English a lot of the words from bullfighting, I discovered. It's not easy at all. It's a whole world of its own vocabulary.
Did it change your opinion of bullfighting? We don't yet know what your opinion is, but did it make you either go against it or for it, or in any way change what you thought about the sport?
I'm not sure if it changed my opinion from black to white, so to speak, but it did make me more sympathetic to bullfighting, yes.
In what way?
It made me see the compassionate side of it a lot more, I have to say. Yeah.
Okay, well, maybe we'll go a bit further into that and dig down deeper into your opinion a bit later. But for people who may not know anything about bullfighting, so Reza, tell us what bullfighting is.
Well, bullfighting is, or perhaps for some parts I should say was, a traditional spectacle in Spain. I say was because in some parts of Spain it's actually been banned. It's illegal. I know in Catalonia and I think possibly in Galicia it's now illegal, but in the rest of Spain it is legal. We'll talk about that controversy a bit later. But also you can find bullfighting in some Latin American countries. And actually I saw something which wasn't exactly bullfighting, but playing with bulls in France. I think there's a little bit of bullfighting in France as well, isn't there?
Yes, and I think I was with you in Denia in Spain when they were pushing bulls into the sea for some reason.
That's right.
They weren't harming them. That's arguable. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't, but they weren't killing them. They were pushing them over into the sea. And I think I was with you when I saw that.
Yes, Denia is a place near Valencia, yeah, and that's what they do in their festival. They fool around with bulls beside the sea, and the bulls end up jumping into the sea and swimming after people.
Yeah.
Good fun.
So in a bullfight, a matador faces a bull in a bull ring. So the bull ring is the arena where the bullfighting takes place, where it happens, and the matador is the person who is facing the bull.
Now, this matador, or you could say bullfighter, but we keep the Spanish word in English as well, matador, bullfighter, uses a red cape. So a cape, C-A-P-E, is something which normally you would hang over your shoulders to keep you warm.
Especially if you're a superhero.
Yes, of course. Superman, Batman, they all have capes. Yeah, that thing hanging over their shoulders. There's nowhere to put your arms in. It just hangs over your shoulders usually. So they have a red cape. Red is the traditional color. Strange that, because bulls are colorblind and they don't see that it's red, but traditionally it is a red cape to control the bull's movements. And the red somehow shows skill and bravery. It's easier to show off with red than grey, isn't it? So that's probably why they use red.
That's right. And the fight usually ends with the bull being killed using a sword that is plunged or pushed with a lot of force into the back of the neck of the bull. And the idea is that the sword reaches the heart of the bull or one of the main arteries quickly, so that the bull is killed as quickly as possible. And of course, for our non-Spanish listeners, matar is to kill. So a matador is a person who kills.
Now, supporters see bullfighting as art and culture. It's considered an actual art form in Spain by many people, while critics argue that it's cruel and should be banned. And as I say, it's already been banned in some parts of Spain.
Have you ever seen a bullfight?
I have twice.
And what are your thoughts?
It was extremely interesting. It was a good thing that I saw it. I think it is a very important, or certainly has been, a very important part of Spanish culture or Latin culture. So I had to see it, I think. But it was sad. It was sad. I'm not going to lie to you, particularly at the end and at the moment when the bull dies. It's a very sad moment. It's very sad.
So that begs the question. If something begs the question, then it's an obvious question that needs to be asked. Why did you go twice?
To see two different types. They were both in Cáceres, where I lived a long time ago in Extremadura. And at that time, bullfighting was still quite popular there, and may well be, because I've noticed that it's more popular in some parts of Spain than others.
Yes.
In Valencia city, it's not that popular.
Well, I'm not sure.
But in the province, yes. In Valencia region, in the city, perhaps not so much.
Also, the bullfights in Valencia get very, very good attendance.
Yeah.
When I think they start about March, April time. That's the season when it begins, and I often see queues outside the bull ring, people buying tickets. It's very popular here.
I know that particularly in the villages in Valencia, and even more in Castellón, particularly, they love things to do with bulls. But I wanted to see a proper organized one. And so the first one I saw was a traditional Spanish bullfight, and that was really harsh. Harsh is hard. But the second one I saw was not a typical Spanish bullfight. It was Portuguese. Portuguese bullfighters were visiting Cáceres.
And the Portuguese, they don't kill the bull, do they?
They don't kill the bull. They play with it. They hit it. Some people would argue that they harm it, but they don't kill it. And I much preferred the Portuguese, not just because I like the idea of not killing the bull, but because there were rejoneadores. Impressed by my vocabulary? See, I told you.
What's that?
A rejoneador is a bullfighter on horseback.
Okay.
And the Portuguese, although the Spanish do it as well, but the Portuguese are especially keen on having bullfights while riding a horse. The rejoneador rides a horse. And the star of the show, without any doubt, is the horse.
But don't the horses get harmed by the horns of the bull? The horns are the two things that stick out of their head.
They can do. That's why they're the star of the show.
Yeah.
They're the ones who are in danger, and their art and skill and grace is just flabbergasting. Those horses are just amazing to watch. They know how to get really close, provoke the bull at the last minute, skip out of the way with a man on their back.
What does flabbergasting mean?
Flabbergasting means that you go, wow, I just can't believe it. You can't believe what you're seeing. A horse carrying a man centimeters from a bull, and yet time and time again, the bull misses it. Those horses are so highly trained. So rejoneadores really, really impressed me.
I have also seen one bullfight. I went when I came to Valencia my first year here, which was back in 1997. And like Antonio's friend, I wanted to see what a bullfight is like before I have an opinion, because I thought I'd probably be against it. But I wanted to see it because I don't think it's fair to have an opinion about something if you don't have any personal experience. So I went, I saw a bullfight. I did not like it. I did not like it at all. And I suppose I'm against bullfighting, although there is an argument for it, as Reza mentioned, cultural and artistic and so embedded, so deep in the Spanish culture. But personally, no, it's not for me.
I'll tell you what my least favorite part of a traditional Spanish bullfight is. What the picadores do. You know who the picadores are?
They're the people on horseback with the spears, which are like long, sharp swords, aren't they? And they're usually on horseback, and their job, if you want to call it a job, is to pierce the bull, to the skin of the bull, so it bleeds and it gets weaker. So it's easier for the matador to fight the bull.
Exactly. So nothing to do with the rejoneadores. They go right up to the bull, play with the bull, but the guys who are on the horses, the picadores, they're simply at the side of the bull ring. They're just waiting for the bull to charge. So to charge is to run quickly towards someone. So they wait, and then the bull runs straight into this very, very long pole, which is sharp at the end, and it gets stuck on it, and it pushes against them. So it just makes it worse for itself. That's very unpleasant to watch. I didn't like watching that at all. And you know what? I've just remembered now, crikey. Crikey means whoa. I'm having
Surprising.
a flashback. When I saw my bullfight, the first bullfight in Cáceres, one of the horses of the picadores died. That doesn't commonly happen because the bull was so powerful that it toppled the horse. And then the horse is covered in armor, protection, but not its underbelly. It toppled the horse. The horse had collapsed then and can't get up because it's wearing very heavy armor. And then the bull gored its underbelly and it died. I saw that. So it was that doesn't often happen. Those horses don't often fall, but I saw it live. So the poor horse, which is not supposed to die, died. The man was all right. So it was really heavy duty. That was horrible to see.
Let's take a quick break here because I know you listen to this podcast to take your English to the next level. But what about your speaking? Is your fluency improving? Are you happy with your speaking skills? My conversation course focuses on making you a more confident and more fluent English speaker. You'll join me and a small group of motivated students, and we'll meet on Zoom and have topical discussions, role plays, debates, and presentations that will expand your vocabulary and help you express yourself effectively in English. So be proactive and take the first step towards becoming a confident and fluent English speaker. Send me an email today to craig@inglespodcast.com and I'll send you details of the next online conversation course. Thanks for listening. Now let's get back to the podcast. So let us know what you think. Are you for or against bullfighting? But that's not the only blood sport, is it, Reza? There are other ways where animals are used for sport. One is cockfighting. So a male chicken is called a cock or a rooster. And cockfighting is a competition between two roosters or two cocks. And it's often held in a small ring, which is called a pit, P-I-T. And these birds, these roosters, they usually wear very sharp spurs on their legs to make the fight more dangerous. Now, if you've seen a cowboy film on the TV, spurs are what cowboys wear on their boots, and then they hit the horse with these spurs that are quite sharp, and then the horse runs faster. But these big chickens or roosters, they have spurs on their feet so that they can hit the other rooster when they're fighting. And it's a big gambling sport, isn't it, Reza? People place money on it.
Yes, you can win money, and it's very traditional to gamble on it in certain countries. For example, in the Philippines and Southeast Asia and some Latin American countries, I know in Colombia, for example. I'm not sure if it's legal in all of those countries, but certainly they like it in those countries. I know that it has been made illegal in some countries, but they still do it anyway. In fact, you even hear of it happening in the United States illegally.
Yes, that's right. And opponents of cockfighting, people against it, say that it's very cruel to the animals. It causes unnecessary suffering to the roosters. And what do you think? Should the law punish only the organizers of these fights, or should they also punish the spectators, the people who go to watch and put money and bet on the rooster?
I don't know. Definitely the organizers, the spectators. I don't know. Who knows? We might have listeners who've been to cockfights in Latin America. So I don't know. What do you think? Should they be punished as well?
I don't know. I don't know why, but my mind immediately went to prostitution, because usually it's prostitutes who get fined or go to prison for being prostitutes, but it's unusual that the men who pay them get prosecuted, which maybe they should. So by the same logic, then perhaps people who spectate, who go and gamble and put money on these cockfights, maybe they should also be fined by the police.
Yeah, because if it weren't for them, I suppose it wouldn't be organized if nobody wanted to see it.
Right.
A bit like prostitution, yeah. So the next one is very common in a lot of countries, unfortunately, and that is dog fighting.
I know you're going to be against this because you're a dog lover.
I am a dog lover. I'm a big fan of dogs, and I don't believe they were created to fight each other for other people's entertainment. So it's an illegal sport, I think, in pretty much all countries or most countries in the world, where two dogs, often specific dogs, specific breeds, such as pit bulls, they can be trained to be very aggressive, so they're ideal for dog fighting. They're forced to fight each other. So the animals, as I said, are trained to be aggressive, and some of these fights, they can cause very, very serious injuries, even death. Sometimes they actually die when they're fighting. And the fighting usually takes place in secret because it's illegal. And the same as cockfighting, it's usually linked to gambling and just crime in general. It's often associated with what they call the criminal underworld. People who seem to be involved in other types of crime quite often seem to like going to dog fights as well. Obviously, animal welfare groups strongly oppose dog fighting because they know what happens with the dogs who are rescued, the ones who they manage to find and take out of that world. They need special care and rehabilitation, physical and psychological as well. How would you feel if you were obliged to kill or be killed every week of your life? You know?
Yeah, terrible. No, I'm against dog fighting too. Why do you think some breeds of dogs, a breed is the type of dog, for example, dog fights often take place between pit bulls, a pit bull terrier, they're very common dogs for dog fights. Why do you think some breeds like pit bulls are used for dog fighting and others not? I mean, you don't often see a dog fight between two poodles, for example.
Yes, I can't imagine Coco, may he rest in peace, being involved in a dogfight.
He was too gentle.
I'd give him about 2 seconds before he was ripped to pieces, quite literally.
He'd kill the other dog with kindness.
Yeah.
Lick the other dog to death.
So it's probably a mixture of just natural, I guess, attitude, mental aggressivity of certain breeds like pit bulls, but also physical.
They're very muscular, aren't they?
They're very muscular. They're very stocky.
Very
that
strong.
means for a small area, there's a lot of muscle in there.
Yeah.
No fat. It's all muscle. And they also have very, very, very strong jaws and sharp teeth for biting. And I think relatively very, very thick necks. So when they grab hold of something with their jaws, when they got something in their teeth, it's very, very hard for that animal or person, if they bite you, to get free because they've really strong jaws, a thick neck. So physically, it's very hard to beat a pit bull.
Yeah, once they bite or once they've got their teeth into you, they don't let go, which reminds me of my mum. Which is probably why I left home early. She didn't let go. Our next blood sport is fox hunting, which quite commonly was associated with the UK, with Great Britain. Fox hunting is a very traditional activity that usually takes place in the countryside, in fields, especially, as I said, in Britain. And the hunters, they ride horses, and they tend to go with packs of hounds. A hound is a dog that uses its sense of smell to track down or to follow and find the fox. And the dogs, these packs, these groups of dogs, they chase the fox across the fields, through the trees, in the forests. And the aim or the idea, the goal, is for the dogs to catch and kill the fox, with the riders on horses chasing behind the dogs. Many supporters of fox hunting, they call it a cultural tradition and a way to control the numbers of foxes that exist in the countryside. But many people see it as very cruel. Do they still do it, or is it illegal now, Reza? Do you know?
It's illegal, yeah. In the UK and in Ireland too, because it was very popular there, it's been banned since about 2005. However, there is a thing they call drag hunting, which is similar, except no animal is killed.
The dogs dress up as women.
It sounds like that, doesn't it? Like a drag queen, but no.
Dogs have got skirts on.
I think it's called drag because they drag. So drag can mean to pull something across the ground. They drag rags, cloths, material, which have been dipped in something with a very particular smell.
A scent, yeah.
A scent. And so the dogs pick up, that means detect the scent, and they go after that. So traditionally, they would have smelled the fox. The fox has a particular scent, but now they use artificial scents, and the dogs follow this bundle of rags, and which are dragged along the ground. So that's why they call it drag hunting.
Yeah. Are you a fan?
Drag hunting, why not? But fox hunting, no. I think it is true that foxes have to be killed sometimes. They do cause big problems for farmers.
Especially farmers who have chickens. The foxes eat the chickens, don't they?
That's a problem, but we can just do it a more humane way, surely. We don't have to have a pack of dogs, a large number of dogs, literally rip the poor fox to pieces.
Yeah.
Seems unnecessary.
Yeah, it does. And it does tend to be very common among landed gentry. Landed gentry are the upper classes in Britain who have these big estates, these huge houses and stables. The stables are the places where the horses are kept. So these people have got a lot of money, they have a lot of land, and it tends to be popular with people in the countryside.
Yes, obviously, it's for country folk. It's not for people who live in the city, because you need a large area to chase the fox over to find it.
And horses too. So what's badger baiting? First of all, what's a badger? It's an animal, but what is it? And what does to bait mean?
Well, I included this one because it has been a very well-known and even popular, I'm afraid to say, aspect of British culture, because of the animal, which is a very, very British animal. I'm sure you get them in lots of countries, but for me, it's something very iconic of the British countryside. A badger is an animal which kind of looks like, what does it look like? Kind of
black and white.
It's got a black and white face. It looks a bit like, I suppose,
a long nose.
Yeah.
Size of a medium-sized dog.
Kind of like a dog, yeah, but a bit longer and a bit shorter. And it's got very sharp teeth. And I know that you don't want to irritate one, because they can be very, very aggressive if you irritate one.
And they tend to be active at night, don't they? They come out, they have very good eyesight in the dark, and they tend to walk around and look for food at night when it's dark.
Yeah, and as Craig said, very distinctive black and white striped face. And they used to be, I don't know if they still are, very common in the British countryside. So badger baiting is a very cruel, I believe, sport, or I'm going to call it a so-called sport. If you use this word so-called, S-O-called, that means, well, people call it a sport, but by saying so-called, I'm saying I'm not sure I agree that I would call it a sport. It's a so-called sport in which small trained dogs are sent down sets. Now, this word set is spelled S-E-T-T in this case. There's another word in English, set, with one T, S-E-T, which is a very, very common word, which has a lot of meanings. Set up a business, set up a computer, set that down. But this is S-E-T-T, and it's a system of underground chambers, little rooms, which the badgers make. They're very good underground engineers. So these small trained dogs are sent down the sets to look for badgers. And if they come across, if they find a badger in the set, because they may or may not be there at the time, they gang up on it. So everybody knows what a gang is, right? So the phrasal verb to gang up means when a crowd of people, or in this case dogs, surround someone and they threaten you. They're going to do something unpleasant to you. They're ganging up on you, and they keep it captive, but they don't kill it yet. This is the thing. They don't kill it yet. They keep it captive until the baiters arrive. So this is why we call it badger baiting. And the baiters are the men involved. And those men, then they dig out the badger. So they know that it's in the set below the ground. and then they dig it out. What happens after that, Craig?
Well, once it's been dug out and once it's been exposed, then the small dogs and sometimes the larger dogs, they attack the badger until it dies. And even the dogs sometimes get injured horrifically because the badger fights back. The badger doesn't want to die, so it has claws and teeth, and it attacks the dogs in turn. And yeah, it's a very brutal scene. And sometimes the badgers have broken jaws or broken legs. The baiters might break their legs or injure the badger to make the fight last longer. And although this particular blood sport has been banned in the UK since the 19th century, occasionally the police still do find people doing this, and they catch these badger baiters today. So it's not a sport that has completely disappeared, even though it's illegal.
Craig, I would have to ask you, can any right-minded person, so if you're right-minded, that means you think in a reasonable, logical, rational way. Can any right-minded person seriously consider this to be a genuine sport?
Well, you have to remember we are animal lovers, and not everybody is. I mean, I would fail to see sport in any of the blood sports we've spoken about today, including things we haven't spoken about, which is hunting for deer. I mean, if you kill an animal, for God's sake, eat it. Don't just kill it and leave it there. Some people shoot rabbits. I mean, okay, rabbits, maybe there's an overpopulation of rabbits and you have to reduce the number of rabbits, that might be justified. But just killing an animal for sport, I don't see that is justifiable. Although, to be fair, some people might put forward this argument. If you put forward an argument, then you say something which is against or something that's criticizing something that has been said. So you're proposing another point of view. Some people might say I'm a hypocrite, that I have double standards, because where does my food come from? My food probably comes from factory farms, from animals living in terrible conditions, and I don't care where my steak comes from. I go to the supermarket and I buy it. So that might be a double standard. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And imagine if we think this is bad, these blood sports where animals are killed, it was common practice only less than 2,000 years ago for people like the Romans to have people fight to the death. Someone had to die. There were two fighters in the arena, two gladiators, for example, and only one could come out alive. This is people. Or a person against a lion. And generally speaking, the lion wins. And it's not a quick death. So we look up to the Romans. We admire them in many ways. But they had their bloody tastes as well.
But now it's your turn to practice your English, because we want to know what you think. What's your view on blood sports? Let us know. You can do that either by our preferred method of sending us a voice message, which we'll include in a future podcast. And to do that, go to speakpipe.com, speakpipe.com/Ingles podcast. And there's a link in the show notes.
If you prefer to write, you could write to either craig@inglespodcast.com or belfastreza@gmail.com.
Also, you can see the vocabulary from this episode on the webpage at inglespodcast.com/591. And if you're a Spanish speaker, and we know many of you are, and you want to improve your English with free and paid resources, visit the Mansion Ingles website at mansioningles.com. And for paid products, you can browse the online store at store.mansioningles.net.
As always, a big thank you to our Patreon supporters. That's Patreon. Those are people who've joined the Patreon program, and they give a small donation to the podcast. And as a way of saying thank you to those people, they get instant access to the audio transcriptions of the podcast, and as another added bonus, the chance to arrange live Zoom chats with Craig so that they can further practice their English. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor, have a look at the link in the show notes. It's patreon.com/inglespodcast.
Thanks to Marcia from Brazil and Nacho from Spain, who joined me yesterday on a Patreon chat. Well, I say yesterday, when you listen to this, it was probably about 2 weeks ago. But anyone can come along who is a Patreon supporter, even if you stay for 5 or 10 minutes and just say hi, hello. It will be lovely to see your face. And we usually stay online for about an hour just chatting in English. And it's a really, really nice thing to come and do. So come along next time if you're a Patreon supporter and practice your English.
It would be nice to name every single sponsor of the Patreon scheme, but we haven't got time. So we'll do what we always do, which is mention our most recent sponsors who've just joined us this month, and they are Sonia and Manuel del Olmo. A big thank you to you two and all our sponsors.
Reza, what's next week?
Next week, we're going to talk about personality tests. Are you a helper, an achiever, a peacemaker, an individualist? Find out next week.
Look forward to that. And until then, have a wonderful week. Thank you for listening this week. Until next time, it's goodbye from Reza.
And it's bye-bye from Craig.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please mention it to a friend so that more people can listen. And we remind you that the music in this podcast is by Pitts. The track is called See You Later.